You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights. You say we all lead lives you can't respect. But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
Hey, yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Hey, yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Hey, yo, Quantic, run them bands up.
I don't take no coffee break now, and I don't need no stars. Won't go asking for a raise now. Baby, you're the boss. I don't take no coffee break now.
Hit that like button as you make your way in.
No stars.
Getting going in just a minute.
Won't go asking for a raise now. Baby, you're the boss.
So be. A lot happening lately. I think I might have to do a double show today. We might have to go into overtime later. I got time today.
Can we ask another question? Do I have to talk about my own party? Can we talk about Ukraine or something? No. Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Somebody like Donald Trump, we thought we'd at least have Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker's chair to hold him back if we didn't.
I am a classical liberal. The government should restrain itself from violating our liberties. Drums in the deep. We cannot get out. They are coming. I never wanted this. I never wanted to unleash my legions. But you betrayed me. You betrayed us all.
I don't understand why people, or why the Democrats can't see why they have fallen. I was someone who hated Trump out of pure ignorance because I knew nothing about politics. I never paid attention to this shit. I didn't care because the way I've always felt was my vote never fucking mattered. And if Democrats, literally all they did was talk trash about Trump. That was part of the reason why I didn't like him, was because all I heard were negative things. And when you don't do your own research and you hear the majority of the people say negative things, and you start to go, okay, this must be bad. When you start to do your research, you start to realize that these people are fucking dumb. I'm so sorry, but you are. And another reason why I didn't like him was because I felt like he didn't talk like a politician. I didn't think it was appropriate for him to go and talk the shit that he talks until I realized that that's exactly how you guys need to be talked to. That's the only thing that seems to register in your brain. And the thing that people don't understand with the Democrats is they are very big on handing out money, but they like to mask it as a social program. Like they really want to help the people, and everyone just wants to put their foot on your neck. You want to talk about loving the uneducated? That's the Democrats, to be quite honest. They sit here and they complain and they talk shit. He has concepts of a plan. Well, that's better than no plan at all. Because if you don't know what a concept of a plan is, it's various ideas that you could possibly have to implement, but you don't really know which one's going to work until you're in there and figure it out. So all you guys have is relying on the fact that people hate him so much that you can just sit here and deflect. So you guys don't seem to understand how hard you have failed the people. It is ridiculous. You start to realize, oh, okay, it's not just completely black and white like that. It's not just give me money because you have it and you can do it. When you start to realize all the economics that go into running a fucking country that are past just a simple, just give us money for healthcare, and you start to realize, well, we're spending money here, we're spending money there, we need money for this, we need money for this, we need this infrastructure, we have all these things we're far behind on. How are we going to fund them and fund this? Nobody can seem to answer that fucking question, but you want to keep literally trying to convince me that I should be okay with you just spending my tax dollars like it's nobody's business. Like, you guys are like the biggest fucking tricks at this point. You guys have been pimping the American people for fucking decades. And we have finally woken up. Some of us haven't. Some of us still want to hold on to the dream that the Democrats want to protect us, that they're protecting us from the evil Nazis. Like, I don't understand why anyone would sit here and talk any type of thing about Trump being inappropriate when I haven't even seen anybody on the Democratic Party act appropriate. The Democrats are the best friend parent that let you literally ruin your life because it was your choice. Because at least it was your choice. They allowed you to freely express yourself straight into the grave. I don't know why anybody likes that, why you guys would still be a part of that. You don't even have to be a Republican. Just, you need to shift. The Democrat needs to become something else. It can't just be free, willy-nilly, giving money away, and just sitting there talking shit and putting fear into everyone, thinking that the Nazis are coming for you. Like that.
Here's a TikTok influencer here. You could not pay me to be a Democrat again. This is what brand collapse looks like. Check this out.
You couldn't pay me to be a liberal again. You couldn't do it. After watching that speech, I am convinced that Democrats hate America. The way that they didn't stand for Laken Riley's mother, the way that they didn't stand for that little boy who has brain cancer, the way that they didn't stand for that young man who got accepted into West Point. Are you with me on this? The way that they hate America.
Intentions to run. One of America's most liberal cities is losing citizens. Residents and businesses are fleeing Portland, Oregon, and much of it has to do with what is perceived as a decline in the quality of life. Correspondent Dan Springer shows us tonight.
Katie Schneider describes herself as a typical Portland liberal. She votes Democratic and routinely for tax increases. But now, after back-to-back years of record-high murders and multiple shootings near her home, she moved her family to Washington State.
I haven't heard a gunshot since we moved. It's been great. It's the little things in life.
Once a magnet for people and companies, Portland has lost population an unprecedented 3 years in a row. A recent Portland Business Alliance survey found 78% of the area's population feel quality of life is getting worse. Crime is the top concern, along with homelessness and rising taxes.
The question that voters are now really pondering is, are we getting the value for what we pay? And I believe that they're making choices now because they don't feel they're getting that value to go to other places.
Vancouver, Washington is right across the Columbia River with no income tax. It's drawing people from Portland, which has the second highest income tax rate in the country, behind only New York City.
Liberals like to have a nice standard of living as much as anyone else, and I think they've had enough.
Major businesses are also leaving. Nike closed this big Portland store, which was plagued by brazen shoplifting. And now Walmart is shutting down its only 2 stores in the city.
It's like a slice of the underbelly of Portland. I mean, it's everybody. It's the sick, it's the houseless, it's the low socioeconomic. I mean, it's everybody who's struggling is shopping in there or shoplifting from there.
Portland's mayor didn't respond to our request for a comment, but a shrinking tax base must be a concern, and tax fatigue may finally sink in at the ballot box. A May vote on a new capital gains tax that would fund lawyers for people facing eviction is actually trailing in the polls. Brett?
Yes, I am in the anti-Elon Tesla club. I got all my stickers ready so everybody knows how much I hate American greatness. Bought this Tesla before Elon went crazy. I want to make sure everybody knows I do not support Elon's techno-fascism. What do you want? Sick Tesla, dude. Are you a Mars bro? Dude, I got some sick Trump merch you could throw in the back. No, I'm not a Mars bro. How on earth could you care about Mars while Elon just cut $10 million in funding for transgender pet experiments? Don't you care about the plight of non-binary Pomeranians? Yo, bro, I think you need a tomahawk steak, extra rare, because I can just smell the low testosterone coming from this car.
Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. You know, I've stuck up for the NFL. I've stuck up for a lot of American companies and other companies, but American companies. I did a very big favor for the NFL. I do favors for all. When you heard an American company, especially a company like this, supplies so many jobs that others are unable to do, when you do that, those people are going to go through a big problem when we catch them. And we got a lot of cameras up. We already know who some of them are. We're going to catch them. And they're bad guys. They're the same guys that screw around with our schools and universities, the same garbage. And we're going to catch them. And let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
Some say they should be labeled domestic.
Oh my gosh, a Tesla Cybertruck is on fire. All right. There's a fleet of Cybertrucks right now Unbelievable. Seattle fire on the scene.
So you got to get off the spot.
Breaking news. I'm sorry?
Get off the spot.
All right, you've got dozens of firefighters now putting out flames on the Cybertruck. Absolutely insane. Look, you still see flames right underneath the Cybertruck. As you can see, there are several other Cybertrucks just parked here. The Soto neighborhood here in Seattle, Sunday evening. Seattle fire on the scene, trying to put out the flames on a Cybertruck. It's unclear how this all started, but again, with everything that's happening in America right now, with anti-Elon Musk hate, all the protests and incidents of vandalism, it appears to be arson.
Hey, Chief, how much do you want us to wait for the multiplied investigation from the third article?
Does this look like arson, sir?
We got our investigator on the way. Too early to know.
Is this the only vehicle that caught fire this evening?
Still trying to get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
We've got about four vehicles involved in this claim.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much. All right. There you have it. Seattle Fire saying there are actually several vehicles involved in this. Right now, I just arrived at the scene. It is a Cybertruck that is totally torched. SFD putting out some of the hot spots right now, but apparently there's some other vehicles that have been torched as well in this Tesla parking lot. I'm going to try to get closer right now, but I'm being advised to kind of stay back. This is private property. It looks like this fence, again, says new inventory only. So these appear to be brand new Tesla vehicles. I see a Model X. I see a Model 3. I also see the Cybertrucks here. Okay, now that the smoke is starting to settle, you can see the back of this Cybertruck is totally charred. The wheels have started to melt. All right, looks like they're taking out a panel here.
Throughout last year's presidential campaign, Donald Trump promised to fight for working class Americans. His actions as president are not only doing the opposite for the working class, but he and his entourage seem focused on coming to the aid of the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. In a social media post overnight, President Trump called the recent protests of Musk's Teslas illegal and promised he would personally buy one today. He even had multiple Teslas delivered to the White House.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. We are back once more into the breach. Hit the like button, like, share, and subscribe. We're going to start this thing up now. The last time we were all together here, we were talking about this Tesla takedown, the terrorism and all that involved with it. And it's continuing. It's still going on. And I told you then, because the left is making such a coordinated push to attack Elon and all of his properties, Donald Trump he's going to have to defend this boy. And the right wing, in turn, will have to defend our boy. And so now, as I predicted, the Tesla has become a right-wing symbol. It's official. Teslas belong to us now. We're electric now. Boogie, woogie, woogie.
For him to view and effectively gave Musk free advertising from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Fox News anchor and Trump supporter Sean Hannity also vowing to purchase one. Trump's daughter-in-law, former RNC co-chair Laura Trump, is insisting that Americans ought to be kissing the feet of Elon Musk for what he is supposedly sacrificing to help this country. And even our country's top diplomat, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, took a very undiplomatic swipe at an ally, Poland, over the weekend in order to defend Musk and his company Starlink. The panel is back with me, Catherine Rampell, Eugene Daniels, and Tim O'Brien. Okay, so Trump has this private Tesla viewing at the White House, and then he comes out. I need to show it to you.
Hey, look, that's Boy Reed down there. Oh, stop. Because I don't watch MSNBC unless I'm like looking for a clip or, I don't know really what's going on minute to minute. But oh shit, that's the first time we noticed Boy Reed doing the job that they took from Joy Reid.
You with notes as though he is a car salesman. Take a look at that. In the Sharpie, which is how you know it's real. Teslas can be purchased as low as $299 a month or $35K. All cars have self-driving, just needs to be turned on. I mean, what does it say that people are currently freaked out about their 401ks, freaked out about whether or not they can go to the grocery store and purchase eggs, that they're talking about.
The price of eggs are coming down, I hear. Price of gas is coming down too. I hear things are kind of, maybe we've turned the corner. I don't know. It's too soon. I don't want to get all Jim Cramer about it, but I do hear the numbers are starting to come down, and she looks especially frustrated. I don't know if I caught her in a really unflattering freeze frame. I do that from time to time. It's not even on purpose all the time, but she looks very unhappy that Elon Musk and Trump have this alliance in the government, and as the left is trying to demonize somebody that just 5 years ago they probably saw as something of a hero figure, it's driving her crazy. And now Trump won't let her and her friends bully Elon, because that's really what's happening. I find the left so fascinating. For all their moral grandstanding, it just boils down to bullying and blackmail with them.
Cutting Social Security, which, yes, I see you yelling at me on Blue Sky. It is not an entitlement. You paid into it. That is why you are entitled to it. And instead, what he's choosing to spend his time doing is a car commercial for Tesla.
It's just bizarre. I am old enough to remember when it was a scandal, that Ivanka Trump seemed to endorse a can of Goya beans, and that Kellyanne Conway, decided to endorse, in turn, Ivanka Trump's clothing line. But that was so 2017, 2018. Now, apparently, we don't care about these ethical conflicts anymore. And look, the reason why they are shilling for Elon Musk is obviously that not nobody, but sales have tanked for Teslas, and as has the stock price for Tesla.
And the left has actually kind of been fighting a war against Elon Musk. I think the official start would be when he bought Twitter. That is when the left started pulling back from their media advertising and whatnot. They started going on hate campaigns against Twitter. And he fought through it. He pushed back, he slimmed down, he streamlined, and he turned Twitter into the #1 news platform on the internet right now. This is where I get most of my clips from Twitter, especially if you want right-wing content.
Tesla, the company. And it's no mystery why, right? There's a reason why companies have historically tried to stay away from divisive culture war issues, because they are worried about alienating a certain segment of their customers. And sometimes they get it wrong, right? You saw the boycotts of Bud Light and Target and other places when Republicans were really mad about decisions that those companies had taken. Not only does Elon Musk, not avoid the culture wars, he is a, happy culture warrior. Yes. And of course, he is helping dismantle the federal government. Like plenty.
Big shout out to the Midwest Request over on the Rumble chat with the $5 Rumble chat. He said, Hood Conservative is for the children. I absolutely am. I am for the children. Just don't let your children listen to my show. It's complicated.
Get it again. Okay, I'm going to say it again. I come in the name of Jesus. Repeat it after me, bitch. I come in the name of Jesus by the power of the Holy Spirit.
All right, Hood Conservative is definitely for the children, all right?
How dare you say that we are not interested in families in the Black community?
Of reasons why customers would boycott them, and now Trump is trying to prop up his friend's company.
I just got to say, it feels like the presidency was already sort of the end game of influencer culture gone too far. But the fact that you have the president of the United States standing outside the White House, pretending as though it is a backdrop or a prop, a car dealership, it is more than I could possibly imagine. So there's that piece of it.
You know, I didn't know this until I started putting the show together, but Joe Biden was like driving a Jeep Cherokee around on the White House lawn. I don't remember anybody crying about that.
And I'm going to let you talk about that. But then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. Now, you know, I am judicious in how I play this sound, but I think you need to hear it from him.
Mr. President talks about some of the violence that's been going on around the country at dealerships. Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. Let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
So just to be clear, you protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist. You show up at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th with the intent to overturn a fair and free election, and you get a pardon.
And you commit acts of violence and threaten federal legislators, and you get a pass. But if you insult Donald Trump's friends or you insult the people who bankroll his existence,
or if you burn an entire lot full of vehicles down, I mean, that counts too, right? Right? The guys that got pardoned, they basically got freed out of jail, which means they served some kind of time. Whether or not you agree with what they did, they served time.
you'll get put in handcuffs. And, you know, it's always amazing to me how Donald Trump, when he goes off on these rants, sounds, even in that clip, like a guy in a leather chair in Queens calling into a radio show and ranting, "It's Don from Queens, and you need to go down to the Tesla right now and buy one." He does it all the time. And beyond the tomfoolery of it and the inanity of it is this is deeply corrupt. You have someone in the Oval Office who has always been a human shingle throughout his own business career. He sold.
And see, they really hate this economic spirit, it seems like. Because, you know, on the one hand, you got Donald Trump, who's a successful businessman in his own right. You know, he's got wins and losses on his record, but who doesn't? And then you got Elon Musk, another hugely successful businessman, even more, like almost infinitely more successful than Donald Trump. And the two of them together, they do symbolize something very threatening to the leftist ethos. And almost pull yourself up by the bootstraps isn't quite appropriate to describe these two, because they had like golden bootstraps with silver laces and shit. But there is something about two guys who are just unstoppable. Two unstoppable white men. It's really like it's crushing their spirit right now in a way that you've never seen the spirit of the left crushed before, at least in our lifetimes.
Yeah, Julie, what's your reaction to this Tesla stunt? Is it ironic that the president is now touting electric vehicles?
I mean, first of all, it's not legal. Let's start with that. Second, you can't do this on the property of the White House. It's federal property. Second, I mean, really, the president is basically a car salesman now. It's just astounding with everything that's going on. I mean, literally, with everything that's going on in the world. He's taking time out of his day to array 4 or 5 Teslas on the White House lawn and basically act like a showroom salesman. By the way, I don't know who he thinks is buying Teslas, but I can guarantee you that they're out of reach, many of them, for the average Trump voter. So I'm not sure who in the MAGA universe he's urging to buy Teslas, because...
Didn't I call it yesterday? Teslas are relatively expensive as cars go, and they are more of a status symbol for progressive left-wing leaning people. It's the whitest protest ever. It is the whitest protest movement in American history, I believe, since like hippies and shit. You really got to go back to the 60s to get a bunch of white people protesting
Teslas
like
consistently in previous iterations were bought by wealthier, more environmentally conscious people. And so, you know, if he's trying to now get MAGA to go buy Teslas, I think that's not going to be very successful. But it does underscore that the protest against Tesla and the fact that the market is driving Tesla down is really having an effect on Elon Musk in a truly tangible way. Otherwise, the president of the United States would not be coming out and taking time out of his day to effectively sell Teslas.
Well, and this is, Mark, one brand, one type of car that affects one business owner, Elon Musk, but other U.S. automakers are saying, what the heck? I mean, here's a quote from another automaker here in the U.S. telling NBC News, Tesla has benefited more from taxpayer money than any other car maker by far. Now,
you guys didn't care about that when it was a left-wing symbol, though. That taxpayer money was helping you guys buy Teslas, right? I bet you out of everybody on this panel, one of them has owned one, probably more of them has owned a Tesla. They probably sold it recently. They don't want to get caught looking crazy.
now the White House is marketing Tesla vehicles. What's next?
I think that's exactly the right irony. The reality is that for many of us, we've opposed not Teslas, we've opposed taxpayer subsidies of electric vehicles, believing the marketplace should be a place people can choose what they want, but it shouldn't be subsidized by average Americans to pay for what wealthy Americans can afford. And so that's been our position. Now,
right? I think there's a feeling in the country, and I often say this, you know, we're about to turn 250 years old, right? We're still pretty young for a country. These are our like our angry teenage years, right? We are going through this push and pull where we're happy, we're sad, we want this, we want that. And what do you do when you have a teenager who's threatening themselves and others? You just try to get them through this period alive so that their brain can fully form and you can come back to kind of what a country.
You know, I was playing around with themes and ideas for what I wanted to do on the show today. And one thing I realized, actually it was a clip I was watching from Fox News. We're going to jump to that next. But the Democrats continue to die on all the worst hills. They die on all the wrong hills. And here you have this lady, Liz Slotkin. I forget exactly what her position is. She's an elected official, but they continue to call everybody who doesn't like them stupid. Everybody who won't vote for them, they just call them dumb. We're teenagers now. We're inexperienced and youthful. We don't know any better now. And they continue to do all the wrong things. And it's going to be, I don't know what it's going to take, but it's going to be hard for them to stop doing this.
Trump? No, I'm talking about our country. We're pendulum swinging. We're pendulum swinging. And so for me, I think that I don't think there's a single American who feels like this is normal. Right? I think there's a feeling.
The thing about the Democrats too, you know, I've been talking about this for a couple of days. Like, what do you consider normal though? What's normal to you? You've been going about the business of destroying American norms for the last 60, 75 years now. So what do you actually consider normal?
The campus caliphate popping off as Democrats rally around the arrested mastermind of those anti-Semitic protests that terrorized Jewish students across Ivy Leagues last year. His name, Mahmoud Khalil. He's the Israel-hating former Columbia student who's been whipped up brainwashing pro-Hamas students as they ransacked buildings and set up encampments.
So apparently this guy got deported. And we forgot to send his pregnant wife with him too. That's a shame. We're not supposed to split families up like that. They should both be together getting deported. It would strengthen their bond. It would keep their marriage together, in my opinion.
Trump yanking his student visa, ICE arresting him and holding him in a facility in Louisiana as they look to deport him. But a judge blocked his deportation. Fox has learned Khalil was previously investigated as a potential national security threat. Investigators also found anti-Semitic and hateful posts on his social media. President Trump putting other agitators on notice.
I think we ought to get them all out of the country. They're troublemakers. They're agitators. They don't love our country. We ought to get them the hell out. I watched them. I watched tapes specifically. I watched tapes. And you can have them. Okay? You can have them. And you.
Now, there are arguments to be made about his rights, perhaps. Maybe we shouldn't have just kicked him out of the country so quickly.
They have rights.
They have rights. So fucking what, man? I won't be making any of those arguments. Not for this guy. I'm going to keep my powder dry. I mean, I'm not necessarily a fan of every move Trump makes, but I'm not fighting to save the left-wing terrorist guy. Pick another guy for me to feel sympathy for. We'll come back to that.
You can have the rest of them.
And shocker, the Democrats are siding with the pro-terror agitators.
If you believe in constitutional rights, if you understand that they're targeting this person, and everyone knows he has been very vocal against the genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza, and they're targeting him and refusing him constitutional rights, who's next?
All right, so Jessica, is this one of those things where like the whole country wants this guy booted and the Democrats stick up for him?
I'm not sure it's quite that extreme. I have seen conservatives, I think Ann Coulter wrote, I basically want to deport everyone, but I need to know what the crime is that he committed. And the Secretary of State does have the power to revoke a green card if there's a legal basis for doing that. So I think, they're going to need to prove their case, but I certainly don't want this guy to become the poster child for the Democratic Party. I saw.
Now, that is the issue, right? You have to be judicious. You have to go in with a scalpel at times. You can't always just use the chainsaw and the machete. Although I'm not opposed to that sort of work either. But you should be able to make your case just in case the liberals start waving the Constitution around.
The Senate Judiciary Dems tweeted out a picture and saying, like, free him. That seems extreme. And this guy, he is chosen to align himself with a group that is holding Americans hostage. And that feels like a national security threat to me. And that certainly feels like someone who doesn't really want to be part of the American fabric. And he is married to an American. She is 8 months pregnant. That's serious. He's part of a community here. Well, he is. He's married to an American. That matters, Judge. But
you'll hear from me. Don't worry about me.
Well, go ahead.
Okay.
He's married to an American. Fucking hell.
They have rights.
They have rights. So fucking what, man?
Okay, the judge says you'll hear from her.
All right, here's the thing. He's been in this country 2 years. He's not part of the American family. Fabric, so let's start with that. Mahmoud Khalil is subject to deportation on many grounds, and not the least of which is the section of law that Marco Rubio, as Secretary of State, has the power to deport him. And that is, it is INA Section 237, Subdivision A4C. And all that says is you don't have to be convicted of a crime. You don't even have to be charged with a crime, Jessica. The Secretary of State has the power to remove this guy, whether
we can kick you out because we just don't like you. How about that? How about that? Catch me outside. Catch me outside this entire fucking country. How about that? We can kick you out just because we don't like you.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
he's got a green card, whether he's got a visa, whether he's, as he alleges, is a permanent legal resident because he married an American. None of that matters under this section of law. And let's be real clear about something else. They could have done it on other statutes as well because of his support for a foreign terrorist organization. He could be deported for that. And all this nonsense.
We don't like you. We don't like your friends either. Y'all all got to go.
It's going on in the Southern District of New York, where Mahmoud Khalil says that the habeas corpus, his body should be brought to New York out of Louisiana. He has no right to be brought to New York. This is theater, because under this INA statute, it is a non-justiciable issue. That means that the decision is made outside of the civil courts. So let's
Right. The courts didn't get you in here. The courts can't keep you here. This is all a matter of bureaucracy. You remember that thing? Bureaucracy. Yeah. It's ours now. Yeah, I know. Sucks, doesn't it? We got all the bureaucracy now, bitch.
Let's not kid ourselves and make this guy out to be some hero, while the Democrats couldn't even crack a smile for DJ Daniels or Jocelyn Nungary.
This guy's a bad hombre, Dana, but Colombia, they could have done a lot more than they did when this thing broke.
For them, oh right. I mean, and they've paid a price. They won. They lost the $400 million, $400 million. But they also, the president had to resign, and also what they've lost in terms of credibility, and the students who are upset they don't.
Now, let's be a little bit frank about this whole issue. Trump didn't do this because this guy was anti-American. Trump did this because the guy was anti-Israel. Let's just say that plainly, so there's no misunderstanding about at least my opinion on the whole thing. This was not a strictly pro-America move. It has all the patina of pro-America, but this was really because he hates Israel. And that's, you know, I guess I can say it's understandable. It is what it is. Deals have been made. Hands have been shaken. Little tiny hats have been worn. Walls have been kissed.
Don't want to go there anymore. The alumni who don't want to be a part of it anymore. The reputational damage of the school. They are in really bad. They have really bad problems. I'm fascinated to watch this legal argument play out. I'm not a lawyer. I just don't even pretend to be one on TV. But I would say this from a comm standpoint, the White House and the Justice Department are saying they have legitimate national security concerns. And to the extent that they can, they should show their work a little bit more. Give Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, just a little bit more so that she can explain that. Now, we're going to get that tomorrow morning in the hearing, but if you're going to put her out there, she's going to have some more information, and she deserves to get that. And press secretaries don't leak, so don't worry about that. The other thing is, from a political perspective, it's kind of fascinating to see these Senate Democrats who they couldn't even say Laken Riley's name. And now,
on the other hand, this does paint the Democrats, and it paints them deeper into the corner that they continue to paint themselves in. And it is a good move politically, just on Trump's behalf. But again, you know, for his base, for the deep right wing of his base, we see what you're doing, motherfucker. We see what you're doing, bro.
Meant these protests, and who we got the money from?
Follow the money. I just came up with that phrase.
That's pretty good.
Could be the name for a show as well. If they deport him, they got to send him to Gaza. Don't they? Don't they? But you know, it goes back to, why do the Democrats always choose the worst hills to die on? They can't.
That was the question that kind of sparked my organizing this show today. I kind of shifted from that just a bit, but that is kind of the question, though. Why do the Democrats constantly choose the worst hills to die on?
Don't they? Don't they? But you know, it goes back to, why do the Democrats always choose the worst hills to die on? They can't see the forest for the activists. You know, they can't see the big picture, either because they've got some kind of obvious derangement syndrome. They hate the West. So they react to the hyper reaction of the extremist faction, who, given their whims, would destroy us. There is a paradox with the United States. You know, the freedoms of our country allow for people to preach the end of our freedoms. You know, you can live in this country as a citizen and hate this country. However,
yeah, but I wouldn't recommend doing it as a foreigner, though. That's where you fucked up, bro. That's where you fucked up, broski. I'm sorry. Hating America within American borders is an American citizen privilege. When you hate America and you come from a whole other country and then you come over here to hate America in country, well, you just look like an op that we need to do something about. It really does hit different when you come from a whole other country. And the Democrats, they kind of have that problem of like loving the foreign op. Now, I remember when Stacey Abrams was running, and I equated it to like a love triangle, you know. You can't love me and Pablo, Stacey. How you gonna appeal to both of us? How you trying to throw the wop at both of us? That's not love. It's not romantic. But the Democrats, they're kind of like that. Their priorities are screwed, their loyalties are opaque. And ultimately, like when it comes to what happened recently in the election, they just keep choosing the wrong hills to die on. And you know, smart people are noticing, but the Democrats as a group aren't really smart people. There are individuals within the Democrats who are smart perhaps, but as a group, they're just not smart people.
Was in both 2016 and 2024, he was seen as the more moderate of the two candidates, which seems sort of crazy. You're like, oh my God, this is the guy who tried to overthrow the government, appointed the judges who overturned Roe v. Wade. But he was able to, with voters, sort of triangulate his image a little bit by, stiff-arming the pro-life groups a little bit, speaking differently about like entitlements and tariffs in a way that maybe people would associate more with moderates or Democrats. And Biden, when he won in 2020, was viewed as a more moderate of the candidates. So I do think that is a big problem, which is it's not just that Donald Trump won the election, it's that Democrats lost the election. And as a party, we can't orient ourselves completely around Donald Trump, right? We need to look under the hood and have tough conversations with ourselves about the things that are going wrong. And like, I'll keep this quick because I know you got questions.
Now, although this young lady is gonna say some things I kind of agree with, I have to point out the Democrats' number one problem is they only listen to the voice of young women. This in and of itself is the problem.
But this is the main problem with the Democratic Party. It is too small. Why is it too small? Because we're not winning elections. Why are we not winning elections?
Because we're too small.
No, because we are taking positions that definitionally make it impossible to win elections.
Right. Such as look at with Kamala Harris. In 2020, in that infernal primary of which I, was a part, she was locked into supporting decriminalizing all border crossings, gender reassignment surgery for undocumented immigrants. Paid for by taxpayers.
Paid for by
in prison.
Taxpayers.
Yeah, not the taxpayers, but the people getting the surgery.
Banning all fracking, right? And I'm sorry, I'm going to cuss here, but we got to stop that shit. We are doing
Got to stop that shit. You got to stop that shit. But I called it at the election. I called it when the election came in, when the results happened in that next show. I pointed it out, and I've been saying it for a while. The Democrats, they just can't stop being weird and gay. This is a problem I've noticed as a collective and also on an individual level. I'm not going to say no names, but I have come across just weird big gay motherfuckers who are diehard Democrat fans. You know what I mean? And it's just difficult for the Democrats to stop being weird and gay. And everybody just wants a break from all your weird gayness, bro.
Give a nigga a break. Give a nigga a break. How much more can I take? Give a nigga a break. Give a nigga a a break. Give a nigga a break. How much more can I take? Give a nigga a break.
People getting the surgery.
Banning all fracking,
Yeah.
right? And we got to, I'm sorry, I'm going to cuss here, but we got to stop that shit. We are doing, like, you know, President Obama had like a great sort of motto about like foreign policy for his White House, which is like, don't do stupid shit. We need to adopt that motto for the DNC and Democratic Party writ large, because we shouldn't have lost. How did we lose to a guy who had 34 felony, you know, guilty of all these things, who was called
Because you're weird and gay.
like American Hitler a week before the election, all that? It wasn't because we weren't mean enough.
It's because you're weird and gay.
And because people didn't know that he was this morally flawed human being. It's because
You're weird. Drum roll, please. And gay.
they thought that we were weird. They thought that we were out of touch. We did not
See?
listen to
You see? Out of touch is just another word for being gay.
mean enough. And because people didn't know that he was this morally flawed human being, it's because they thought that we were weird. They thought that we were out of touch. We did not listen to enough people. And
You were weird and gay. I wish the Democrats would say it. I think it's important not to be a troll and not even to like be, you know, not to cast aspersions on gay people individually. Go be gay, bro. I want you to be happy. Like the original definition of the word. Go be gay. Like that's between you and God. You know what I mean? Whatever happens after you die, I got nothing to do with that. But I don't want to live under your rules. You know what I mean? I don't want the world to work according to your system of things. That's the problem right there. You can be weird, you can be gay. Let regular people make the rules and you know, set all the policies and
was
shit.
called like American Hitler a week before the election, all that. It wasn't because we weren't mean enough and because people didn't know that he was this morally flawed human being. It's because they thought that we were weird. They thought that we were out of touch. We did not listen to enough people and talk enough about the need to secure the border and lower costs. So
Is that the lesson that the Democrats are taking from it, though? Because I hear some that the feeling is that she abandoned those great liberal positions.
so some of us
No, your liberal positions aren't selling like you want them to. And this is like one of those bittersweet, well, not even sweet, it's just a bitter thing that you have to accept. Like imagine you're a guy who you run a business, you sell a thing, and you have your entire store dedicated to selling versions of this thing. You know, I got a thing on the shelf, thing on the walls, thing in all the drawers. I got a whole stock room full of things back there in case somebody wants a lot, you know, and then one day you realize nobody wants to buy this thing anymore. And now you're stuck with this thing. And you've poured your entire life into this thing. And now you have to get rid of this thing. And the Democrats just aren't willing to do that because they're in love with being gay.
So some are there. Some of us are trying to chart a new path, a better path, and stay tuned. There'll be some news on that. But yeah, and like, look, if you look at, again, I did a lot of research here, and I looked at the ads of the top overperformers in the House this year, and I actually worked with 5 of the 6 top Democratic overperformers in the House. And if you look at what these ads had in common, if you look at a word cloud, it's the top words were costs, inflation, border, police, bipartisanship, independent. And all of these candidates, whether it's Jared Golden in Maine, Mary Peltola.
See, what she wants people to realize is that all the people who survived and won during this last election cycle, they kind of made an obvious break from the general Democrat platform. They couldn't break all the way, but they made signals that I'm not like these other guys. Shout out to the Laughing Dog with the $5 Rumble chat. He says, so if you or I breathe on a wife or girlfriend Wrong. The police take us to jail and the court nabs our guns, but some street shiter can jihad all day long in USA. F that BS. Hey, listen, Laughing Dog, I am with you. I'm with you 1,000%. I don't even think he needs all these rights. I don't even think that the Constitution was written to protect his rights. You know what I mean? Like those guys, they weren't really thinking about the world. They were thinking about America. Shout out to Laughing Dog with the $5 chat.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Appreciate you guys supporting the show. Hit the like button for me. If you haven't done so already, remember you can follow us on Rumble. You can support the show with a Venmo donation. You can catch me at Venmo at The Hood Conservative, or you can go to Rumble and watch us on Rumble. Be sure to subscribe to the Rumble channel as well. And you can also support the show directly with a Rumble chat.
Cola in Alaska, Ruben Gallego in Arizona. What they did was they all ran ads with either cops or Border Patrol guys praising them. They ran ads saying, I'm not like those other Democrats. They won, not because they ran as Democrats, they won because they ran against the Democratic brand.
What is the Democrat brand? It's a problem that the Democrats have going forward. Everybody can kind of see that there's something disturbing about what the Democrats believe in.
This happened. Who would allow men to play in women's sports? And they're still fighting it. They're still, it's got to be a 95% issue. But they're on television this morning. I see this person.
The Democrats went from the party of women's rights to, I don't really know how to define objectively what a woman is. Are you even a doctor?
This happened. Who would allow men to play in women's sports? And they're still fighting it. They're still, it's got to be a 95% issue. But they're on television this morning. I see this person, a Democrat, say, we should have the right. No. Men should not be, they're hurting women. They're hurting women very badly. They're hurting women.
Suddenly the Republicans, we are the men protecting women now. I mean, I guess that's the way it should be technically, but the Democrats have been the party of protecting women. That's the weird part about it. And what's funny about this whole transgender issue in sports, you don't have to be in a combat sport as a transgender to severely hurt a girl. There was a volleyball game recently where a transgender person, a male to female, obviously, this transgender person spiked the ball so hard that it hit the girl's head and gave her a severe concussion. And so just imagine being like on the girls' soccer team. And there's this 6'2", 215-pound wingman in a pink uniform charging at you.
And they should not, and they're also demeaning women. But who would want these things? And everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election.
That's why we won the election. Everything's transgender now.
Should not, and they're also demeaning women. But who would want these things? And everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But very importantly, now it is what it is. The Democrats should get with us and come up with good tax policy so that Ireland and other countries can't take our businesses away from us. And he understands exactly. You guys did the right thing. I'm not upset with you. I think I respect.
A shout out to the Midwest Request with the $1 Rumble chat. He says, Where did Mo get them rights? He stole them, didn't he? You know he did. He borrowed them rights and he ain't never give them back. That's why you're getting kicked out the country. This nigga got counterfeit rights. Rights don't belong to you. Those rights belong to an actual American citizen. You up here stealing rights and shit. And then shout out to DJ Brum with the $5 Rumble chat. He says, just stopping by to pay my field nigga tithes. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you all for stopping through. Appreciate you guys following the show over on Rumble. Like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Thank you so much for your support.
I need that money.
Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Yes.
What you've done. You've done a great job. But our people did a very bad job. How this happened? Who would allow men to play in women's sports? And they're still fighting it. There's still, it's got to be a 95% issue.
Why are the Democrats so in love with this one issue? I think more than anything, the Democrats are almost like religiously attached to the transgender issue. And I mean, without getting like esoteric and conspiratorial in that sense, but psychologically, I think there is such a deep malice, a deep misandry in the heart of Democrats, because most of the transgender issue is male, it's male to female. And so there is a symbolic like obliteration of the traditional masculine image, right? That like that Greek goddess, that Greek god statue, you know, the statue of David or something. Like there is a symbolic destruction of that image, which is obviously a goal for the Democrats. They make no secret of their disdain for traditional men and manhood. And so it just seems like their attachment to this issue goes way beyond any real political calculation. But let's take a look at The View and Dylan Mulvaney right here getting loved on by Whoopi Goldberg.
Last week, California Governor Gavin Newsom said that he thinks that trans athletes competing in girls' and women's sports was deeply unfair. Now, I want to hear what you think.
You know what? Before we hear Troon speak, let's take a listen to Gavin Newsom and his conversation about that.
So like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right. that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace.
Now, Gavin Newsom is getting jumped on right now by his party and his base because you're supposed to be 1,000% in favor of whatever transgenders tell you that they believe. Any break from the orthodoxy, whatever we tell you the orthodoxy is, it's forbidden. You can't break away.
You know, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, you know, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
So like you right now.
And see, what the Democrats want to do is hide behind issues of like decency and whatnot. But again, making it a matter of decency based on what principles? Because you don't believe in God or tradition. So by what principle do you declare your behavior decent? Like, how is this decent for a man to be a woman? How is that within the bounds of decency? Like, it's hard for me to really logically accept this proposition here. But anyway, like I said, Whoopi Goldberg loving on Dylan Mulvaney.
Last week, California Governor Gavin Newsom said that he thinks that trans athletes competing in girls and women's sports was deeply unfair. Now, I want to hear what you think, because I'll tell you what I think too.
Yeah. The last time I played a sport, I was 6 years old and I was on a soccer team, but I assigned myself as the nurse. So I sat with the Band-Aids. And so in the words of Wicked, I am not that girl. But a dear friend of mine, Skylar, he is a trans athlete. His handle's Pink Manta Ray. That's someone who I really look to for guidance. And I think that is what's tricky, is like, now stepping in this identity. I'm still like a baby trans, you know, I've only 3 years in. Tomorrow's my anniversary.
Your friend went your friend went from female to male and is competing with other males.
Correct.
No.
Yes.
Her friend.
Yes. Her friend went from female to male and is competing with other
So
males.
Gavin doesn't have a problem with that.
Well, I think part of the problem that the trans community is facing, and it's the same problem that women face, is if you don't know anything about our bodies, you don't know how it works.
I'm pretty sure we know how a woman's body works. And if you can't tell me what a woman is, you can't then try to explain to me what a woman's body is and how it works. Well, how you tell me how a woman's body works, right? Let's do that. Let's play your game. You tell me how a woman's body works, and then we'll see if this candidate lines up with your definition of how a woman's body works. I want to see how that goes.
So when you come in and you say, oh, you know, these are men, you know,
competing
against women, you're assuming that the women are weak and just can't do anything except be here. Have you seen female athletes? They know what they're doing.
We've all seen female athletes get beat up. We've all seen female athletes get crushed under the weight of this giant transgender. I don't think Whoopi watches the female athletes like she says she does.
So I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue. The same for me as when people say, oh, you know, I don't know how I feel about you. You do. God doesn't make mistakes.
No.
Now, this is a short clip from their longer interview, and I chose not to try to play the whole interview because I know YouTube will get pissy about that. But earlier in their interview, Dylan, he's the one who introduced the phrase God doesn't make mistakes to this conversation, okay? Dylan Mulvaney, forgive me for misgendering, but Dylan Mulvaney introduced God into this conversation, right? And now Whoopi is doubling down on the God doesn't make mistakes part. Now, the problem with introducing God and grandstanding on his perfection and how he doesn't make mistakes, if God didn't make a mistake, what are you transitioning from and what are you transitioning into? Because that's what trans and transgender implies, right? A transition, a movement, a shift from one place to another, from one thing to another, from one form of being to another. So what form, what way of being are you moving from and transitioning into? Because the very act in of itself would imply a correction of a mistake, would it not? I'm just, you know, maybe I think too much. Maybe I've had too much to think. That's usually my problem. I'm a hard thinker.
And the challenge is not to the trans people, it's to the people who are not trans. That's what God is looking to see, how you treat people.
Yeah.
That's what.
Oh, so I'm the one that God hates. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm the one that God hates. How did I become the one that God hates? I don't get this. I don't get this. Whoopi, you be tripping.
These blacks.
So because I'm not gay enough, God looking at me like, hey, nigga. This can't be real. This can't be real. Could you imagine? Could you imagine you get to like the pearly gates and it's like Saint Michael with a list of all your deeds in life, and he's like, I hear you never sucked a dick. You never gave one of your homies a hand job. None of that. None of that. You never kissed a transgender. None of that. Bro, listen. I don't know if we can let you in here. I mean, we kind of have. We have a reputation to keep. You know what I mean? Like, could you just? Oh God, is that really how it works, Whoopi? Oh man. Oh man. Wow. Wow. They must really think heaven is like the gay disco, bro. That is crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, stop your gay eam up, nigga. That is crazy, bro. God looking down on me like, man, I don't know why this nigga won't do something gay. Like, what the fuck? Do you love me or not? Oh God, really, Whoopi? That's how you feel about it? That's really that's God in your mind, Whoopi? God is up in heaven, just waiting on a nigga to do some gay shit. So you can be like, that's my guy right there. That's my boy. Hold on, no. Whoopi, no. We gotta run this back. Whoopi,
Oh,
really,
you know, I don't know how I feel. So I'm not sure what's going on or why this is an issue. The same for me as when people say, oh, you know, I don't know how I feel about you. You do. God doesn't make mistakes.
No.
And the challenge is not to the trans people, it's to the people who are not trans. That's what God is looking to see, how you treat people.
Yeah.
God is looking at me. He's like, so, all the God really need to know is, motherfucker, you gonna suck it or not? God is in heaven right now. Like, you gonna suck it or not? Oh no, oh no, oh no. This is not real. This is not real. Be fruity and become many. God. Why y'all like this, bro? Why are they like this? I can't believe they. And she dead real. She dead real. She ain't been more serious about some shit in her whole life. All right, she hasn't been so serious about something since she married that white guy. Like, Jesus Christ, this is what she believes. God really wants you to be like, hey, listen, man. You better hurry up and get it done before you die, bro. You just gotta lick one. All right, you just gotta lick one. All right, you can come on up here after that. Oh my God. Shout out to the Midwest request. Hold on. We got a couple of Rumble chats. Shout out to Shout out to Joey Montana with the $1 Rumble chat. He says they know how a woman's body work, but they don't know what a woman is. This is why we don't listen to women with clothes on. Shout out to dirty folks. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. This is why you can't listen to women with clothes on, because they will always let you down. Even the smart ones on TV.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value.
Good women are dead. Evil bitches, rise up!
Shout out to the Midwest request with the $1 Rumble chat. He says the transition is eternal because they don't want to be pinned down to a solid, understandable foundation. They want to be everything like a demigod. You know, it's funny. While you were saying the transition is eternal and they want to be everything like a demigod, you know what I was just thinking about? Fucking Odo from Deep Space Nine. You remember Odo from Deep Space Nine? He's the ultimate transgender symbolism and Star Trek, right? This is when I start to realize how woke Star Trek was. Odo was the ultimate transgender, right? He could transition into anything, anybody. And if you go into the what was it, the Delta Quadrant, where they had beef with, the transgenders were gods over there. The transgenders were the gods. Oh no, it was the Gamma Quadrant. It was the Gamma Quadrant. When you crossed that wormhole and you went into the Gamma Quadrant, the transgenders were gods over there. Yes, bro. It was. Listen, man. Star Trek was so woke. You are absolutely on to something. They do see godhood in the transition. They've been writing it in their TV shows forever.
That's what is happening. So I was just curious as to what I liked your answer.
Thank you.
I liked your answer.
Yeah, like I said, Whoopi was loving on Dylan Mulvaney there. It was very, very strange. Did you know that when Trump came into office, you might know this because I covered this thing. I think I did a whole show on this actually, but when Trump came into office, there was a representative from Delaware, I believe, elected to the House, and this person, well, let me show you the person before they were elected to the House, because, you know, I think it's nice that we get a complete image of the person. You know what I mean? I don't want to be accused of only showing your bad side. Let's show your pre-transition.
Cover my head, do it again. Oh, oh, oh. I wanna be free, yeah. I feel the way I feel. Man, I feel like a woman.
You know, if you were in Russia, they would just throw you straight to jail. I got videos somewhere of like the Russians raiding a gay nightclub. It was like a drug raid, bro. They came in with the SWAT team and they were arresting all the gays in the nightclub. It was crazy. Russia may have found a solution.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
sorry.
could you?
Now, I don't know if you realize what just happened here. This person all the way on the far right that appears to be a woman, that is actually the man we just saw in the car. This is a Sarah McBride, formerly known as Dylan McBride, now a representative from the state of Delaware. This is a committee meeting, and pay attention to the interaction. One of these people are lying about the other person.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
sorry.
could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply.
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman?
So one person, the speaker, I guess the leader of this whole meeting, addresses Sarah McBride as Mr. McBride, and then Mr. McBride addresses this man as Madam Speaker. Yes, it's official, a full-blown Mr. Gate.
Yes, I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking.
Now, when Sarah McBride says Madam Chair, this is a willful act of misgendering. This is a spiteful, petty, dare I say, feminine act. I mean, you know, he's a feminine guy, right? But The problem here is there are only two genders. Trump made it official government policy. There are only two genders, and you can't go back and forth. You're locked in for life.
Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
sorry.
could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the
Representative.
standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply.
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman?
The
Would you
standard-
repeat what you just said when
I-
you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I
We
mean,
will- we will-
I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You
hearing.
will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned. I now recognize.
Can't even conduct business unless you call this person a she. Can't even do business.
Happened. Who would allow men to play in women's sports? And they're still fighting it. They're still, it's got to be a 95% issue. But they're on television this morning. I see this person, a Democrat, say we should have the right. No. Men should not be, they're hurting women. They're hurting women very badly. They're hurting women. And they should not, and they're also demeaning women. But who would want these things? And everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But very importantly, now it is what it is. The Democrats should get with us and come up with good tax policy so that Ireland and other countries can't take our businesses away from us. And he understands exactly. You guys did the right thing. I'm not upset with you. I think I respect what you've done. You've done a great job. But our people did a very bad job. How this happened? Who would allow men to play in women's sports?
Yeah. Yeah, listen, Carmen, bro, sorry. They're really crashing out over this whole thing. This is the weirdest. Like I said, they picked the worst hills to die on. This is why, and shout out to Keep It 100, bro. I see in the chat. This is why we have to create these really aggressive memes here, because they wonder why nobody likes them. It's because you are obsessed with butt stuff and transgenderism, and you do nasty things in front of children. And then when I tell you to stop doing it, you throw a whole violent tantrum about it, like you have God's given rights to do weird butt stuff displays in front of children. The whole thing has become a mess. And so now the party's over. So anyway, Trump is shutting down the Department of Education, I hear.
It's time to speak up. I'm standing outside of the Department of Education building in Washington, D.C. There are reporters lined up across the street because the Trump administration has issued an order that all employees are to vacate this building by 6 o'clock tonight and that it will be closed tomorrow. And we know that massive cuts and layoffs are coming to the Department of Education. Now, if you haven't read Project 2025, you might not know that eliminating the Department of Education was one of their top goals. They want to eliminate the Department of Education, and they want to cut any and all funding that they can to the states for their education. And why is that? Because an uneducated populace is easier to control. The Trump administration and the Christian nationalists don't want an educated populace. All they want are people who will be slave labor to the billionaires who are going to run the show. They don't want us to know how to read and write and to have critical thinking, because an uneducated populace is easier to control. Go out there and love your neighbor.
So is the Doge program targeted at these bureaucrats?
Yes.
And so how what can you expect?
Well, let's look at the Department of Education. The federal Department of Education has a budget of about $280 billion a year. Less than 25% goes to educating our students. So where does the other $220 billion go? It goes to a bureaucracy. It goes to a consultant. And that consultant then donates money back to the Democrats. And then it goes to a different consultant. And then it goes to an NGO. And then it goes to, I mean, it is money laundering and money churning at its absolute best. And you can look at almost every single agency and you will find it. So the brilliance of Doge isn't that he's going in and cutting spending. He doesn't have the authority to do that. We're the ones that have the authority to do that. What I want him to do is come up with a report, go through agency by agency by agency, identify every single program that we should not be funding, put a number attached to it. We slap a preamble on the front of that report, and we say that every single agency is having their budget cut by X amount as shown in the attached report, and none of those programs can go forward from here on out.
Is the education system setting your kids up for success or a life behind bars? These shocking statistics will make you rethink everything.
Did you know that the statistic is that if you can't read and do math at grade level by the time you're in 4th grade, the U.S. prison system actually begins to prepare a bed for you because they know your first arrest will occur in middle school and you will be convicted of a crime. Before you graduate, you'll drop out, you'll be jumped into a gang, and then you're in the criminal lifestyle. That's called the education to prison pipeline for children who don't know how to read and do math. And this is a blockbuster study that was released as New York City students have test scores in math and reading that remain mediocre. And state funding is increasing because that's the way that bureaucrats address problems. They throw money at it. We need a total reorientation on education, not just in New York City, but across the country, which is why the president is planning on abolishing the Department of Education and returning those funds and control back to the states.
Thank you, Stacey, on the right. It's ironic because I have to say this, you know, there's no fault of your own, Stacey, on the right. I suppose you're just a black girl on the right, minding your own business. But you know who was on that school to prison pipeline? You know, especially in the inner cities, you know who's really the conductors and the porters and all the different laborers on that school to prison pipeline?
These angry, mad, opportunistic, lying black women.
Joining us now is Brittany Coleman, a civil rights attorney at the Education Department, who just got notice yesterday that she was being laid off. She's also national shop steward in the AFGE union. Brittany, thank you for coming on with us. How did you learn you were losing your job, and what was your reaction?
Thank you for having me. And to see how I learned I was losing my job was I got an email earlier yesterday stating that our offices would be suddenly closed, which was highly unusual. And it was already adding to the heightened chaos and confusion that people are experiencing because.
Now, you know, on the one hand, just from a numbers perspective, I know there can't be just millions and millions and millions of black women working in all these different federal positions. But perhaps maybe it is, you know, maybe there are an outsized proportion. Maybe there is an outsized proportion of black women working in these positions. But what I've noticed is that when these firings come down, the news makes sure to put black women on TV, as they've been doing for a long time. But it's definitely a lot of women getting fired from the government. I don't know if you know, if you guys noticed it like I've been noticing, but when the federal government trims the fat, it just gets rid of a bunch of chicks, bro.
I hit a woman for the first time in my life, and I'm having fun.
Of the Doge emails that we were getting every week and the deferred resignation emails. So last night when I got home, I started getting text messages saying that other people got their RIF notices from the agency. And then I just happened to check my email, and that's where I saw that I got one too. It was just a simple email where we were all blind copied stating that we were let go in the name of pushing the Trump executive order for efficiency.
Are you angry? Are you worried? How is this sitting with you?
I am
Wait. I know how you feel. Wait. Let me do it. Let me answer for you. I know what she feels like. I've heard this before.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value.
definitely angry because I don't understand why I and my colleagues have been targeted for just doing our jobs. Our jobs are protecting the American public and their patient students. So it's very frustrating to not only have to endure the demeaning emails and ridicule that we're getting in the media, but to also have to lose your job when all you were doing was just following, the law and enforcing that, or providing statistics to help teachers do their jobs.
In the public announcement of these cuts, part of the statement we got reads, the Department of Education will continue to deliver on all statutory programs that fall under the agency's purview, including formula funding, student loans, Pell Grants, funding for special needs students, and competitive grant making. Brittany, what do you see as the impact here for students, teachers, and families all around the country?
Well, I'll tell you that I think the impact is that they're going to get the residuals of the chaos that we've been experiencing.
No, here's the impact. If you stop trying to teach kids about butt stuff, then we'll let you have some money. It's really that simple. What would you rather have? Would you rather have millions of dollars from the federal government for the next 4 years, or sit in the dark and teach kids about butt stuff? These are the rules. These are your options. I don't think there are any other options on the table. You got to make a choice.
Seen as employees, it's hard to believe that removing functions and removing the people who do those functions, such as making sure that students receive their services if they have special needs, or making sure that there is adequate documentation of the students receiving those needs, how that eliminating the function is going to help.
You know what? I've been kind of heavy-handed with the butt stuff jokes, because it's not just butt stuff. I was coming across a couple of stats recently that like 70-something%, some crazy number like that, like 70% of Black women believe that white people invented slavery. Yep. They were just sitting around in their cave and it was like, you know what? Got an idea.
The American public. It's just unclear to me how removing Head Start or removing Title I funding through Block grants, how any of that would be actually helpful in getting to the students who need it most.
I'm not so sure it's clear that all that funding is being removed. There's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. Here's what the education.
Oh, well, honey, you must have just got here. You missed the part when Whoopi Goldberg was talking about God. Yeah, listen, keep it 100. Whoopi Goldberg. If I can kind of connect the dots, she kind of thinks God wants you to be gay. We had a lot of fun laughing at that, man. I think you just got here. It's been wild way before this point. This is tame, bro. This is tame.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon said about these cuts last night.
So many of the programs are really excellent. We need to make sure that money does get to the states, but we want more money to be able to go to the states. And that's what the president said all along. If we get rid of the bureaucracy, the states will get more. It'll go directly into the states.
Block grants to states.
Perhaps block grants without so many strings and red tape attached to it.
What's your response to that?
Well, my response is, just to clarify, when I say removing it from the function under the Department of Education.
Okay, everybody. All right, stop the show. All right, we're gonna drop the video and everything. All right, because this is a moment. We need to immortalize this moment. All right, you're gonna see this on T-shirts one day. You're gonna see this on mugs. You're gonna see this on little pins. You know how people used to have like the little smiley face pin? You're gonna see pins. And it's gonna be a quote from Keep It 100. Yeah, it's gonna be a quote from Keep It 100. I can't with the butt stuff, bro. I promise you, it's gonna be on t-shirts, it's gonna be on hoodies, it's gonna be like on a wife beater. It's gonna be a whole new thing. A quote from Keep It 100. I can't with the butt stuff, bro. Listen, nobody can. That's why we're gonna be wearing the t-shirts.
Because they are talking about moving those to other agencies like Health and Human Services, which is also being gutted. When you talk about removing that funding from our agency, we are the experts and we know how to administer that. We know how to help states be able to target that funding to make sure that it gets to lower income areas, would that be urban or rural areas. And it's not clear that how that would actually be helpful. What would be clear is that, you know, the process of moving that stuff is.
I feel like you're doing a terrible job of making me want you to keep your job. Like, you should be like engendering feelings of sympathy and remorse right now. You know, I should be feeling bad for you, but I kind of don't. And I think that's your fault. I think it's your fault why I don't feel bad for you. Anyway, moving on. Guess who Rachel Maddow is going to be talking to about this issue? Guess who Rachel Maddow is going to have as a guest to talk about why you need to spend money on the government school system, right? Guess. I'll give you guys one guess. I'll give you guys like 5 seconds to come up with an answer. 4, 3, 2, 1.
These angry, mad, opportunistic, lying black women.
Started with a sort of mysterious notice this afternoon, a reference to security concerns that went out to all employees at the U.S. Department of Education. Quote, beginning today at 6 p.m., all Education Department offices will be closed for security reasons. Employees must vacate the building by that time. This notice also said all Education Department offices would be closed tomorrow and no employees would be allowed in. Now, this notice had no details about what these security reasons were, but it was pretty clear what was coming. After all, we've been through this a couple of times already now. It was just over a month ago when people who work at USAID got an email saying their office would be closed the next day and they shouldn't come to work. That was right before Trump set about completely dismantling that whole agency. Employees at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, same thing, sent a very similar note saying their office would be shut for the following week, just as the White House ordered the entire agency to stop all of its work. And sure enough, tonight, just after the 6 p.m. deadline for Education Department workers to vacate their offices because of some security concern, Trump Education Secretary, the billionaire pro wrestling executive Linda McMahon, announced that her department is cutting its workforce in half. They will begin.
Do you think those women at the Department of Education are a little bit intimidated by Linda McMahon? Because, like, she will body slam a bitch. I know she's old, but I feel like they still think about that. Like, you know, she knows how to do it. She just might.
Firing more than 1,300 people from the Education Department tonight. And then, of course, she went straight to Fox News.
That was the president's mandate, his directive to me. Clearly is to shut down the Department of Education, which we know we'll have to work with Congress, to get that accomplished. But what we did today was to take the first step of eliminating what I think is bureaucratic bloat. And that's not to say that a lot of the folks, it's a humanitarian thing too. A lot of the folks that are there, they're out of a job. But we wanted to make sure that we kept all of the right people, the good people.
If you find yourself starting to feel a little tug on your heartstrings for those 1,300 people who are out of a job tonight at the Education Department, don't worry. We kept all the good people. We kept all the good people.
Somebody in the chat help me out here, especially, if you have real information about how this works, right? You know, if you're government knowledge and whatnot. What does the Department of Education do? Like, all right, let's say you're a random official in the Department of Education. You get up on a Monday morning and you do what exactly? I need somebody to explain that to me. What do they do? Because they're not teachers. You know, all the teachers are way down at the state level. They're not principals. You know, they're not janitors. They're not lunch ladies. You know, they're none of the people I can think of when I think of people I see who work at the school.
The 1,300 people who are getting fired tonight, they just aren't, they're not good. They're not good. Who is this for?
David Drencher in the chat says, OMG, the nigga don't know what they do, but is happy it's gone. Well, David, imagine you had to pay for something, and as you're going over your list of monthly expenses, you find this this item on your expense sheet that you really can't account for. You don't really know what it does, but you know you have to pay for it. How would you feel about that, seeing that item on your monthly expense sheet, David? Real question, because I know you deal with numbers and graphs and charts and shit like that. I know you be counting the white man's money 8 hours a day. How would you do that, David? Like you know, help me out here, bro.
The vast majority of the American people do not want this. A poll earlier this month, Reuters Ipsos, earlier this month found that fully 66% of Americans oppose abolishing the education department. Nearly half of Americans strongly oppose it, while only 16% are strongly in favor of it. This is not something Americans want, but Donald Trump is trying to do it anyway, apparently starting with firing fully half the people who work at that agency tonight. This is from NPR on the Trump administration's announcement tonight that they're firing 1,300 people from the U.S. Department of Education. Quote, AFGE, American Federation of Government Employees, Local 252, a union that represents education department employees, released a statement in which its president, Sharia Smith, said, "We will fight these draconian."
I finally got some weird haters in the Rumble chat. This is a first. You know, I got my first Rumble hater. I don't know if Rumble has mods the way YouTube has mods. I'm over here seeing what I can do, and I don't know how to add a mod. I don't even see an option to add moderators. Yeah, Rumble needs to add moderators to their live chats, because now I see it can be a problem.
Draconian cuts. Minutes later, AFGE Local 252 told NPR that Sharia Smith was laid off, along with all 5 of the chapter's other union officers. Joining us now is Sharia Smith. She's president of a union representing 2,800 employees at the Education Department. She served our country as an attorney for the Education Department's Office for Civil Rights until this evening. Ms. Smith, thank you so much for being here on Tonight of All Nights. I am sorry for what you're going through.
I'm not. David Drencher, are you sorry for what she's going through? David, can you even tell me what she does at the Department of Education that you want to pay money for? Because it's not that I'm unwilling to pay money theoretically, but I want to know what my money's going to. You know, I want to know what you do with the dollars. And if I can't really get a good explanation, then I don't think I support this. So I'm not sad. I don't feel a thing, honestly. She looks very unhappy, by the way. I'm sensing a lot of anger coming off this sister girl right here. She looks very unhappy. She looked like a bitch that just got fired from her government job.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
This is about targeting women of color in the United States of America. Don't tell me, because I didn't get a single apology.
Time has expired.
My life was threatened. Thank you.
Hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad, hoes mad.
Thank you so much, Rachel. My coworkers and I from all over the country really appreciate the platform you're giving us to talk about this.
Like the video, people. Like the video.
Is it
from
the case that your whole office is being closed and your colleagues, all of your colleagues at your office are being fired as well, the whole thing?
You know, that's so interesting that you asked the question about our whole office. So we've reviewed the list of people who are set to be laid off. And I also listened to Secretary McMahon's statement about how they're keeping the good people. The people that they seem to be keeping are white men who happen to have graduated from very conservative schools. Not to say that they're
David in the chat says, Hood, you won't be affected because New York pays more into the DOE collective pool than they get back. It's the red states that will be hurt. Hurt by what? The question that I posed is, what do they do with the money? What is the Department of Education actually for?
not good. I think all of my coworkers are excellent. Many of them are members. But the coworkers that are being laid off as well are also good. What is curious in the U.S. Department of Education is that the layoffs, the mass terminations, the administrative leaves are seeming to affect and impact disproportionately women and people of color. And the Department of Education should be a model employer.
It's not just me noticing that, right? It's not just me noticing that when the government, when the Department of Government Efficiency goes on a mission to trim the fat, to remove the fraud, waste, and abuse, it's a lot of women, a lot of whom seem to be black or some other non-white. I noticed the pattern immediately. I'm like, there's a lot of hoes mad every time somebody finds waste, fraud, and abuse. This is weird. It's really weird.
And I want American people to think about, do they want their employer to follow this model where the only people that are deemed good enough to keep their jobs and their ability to support their families are people who are from a certain race and are of a certain gender?
Yeah. Yeah. You lost. We only want competent white people running the government now. That's the message. I know it sucks, right?
These blacks. I know that this has all just happened in the last few hours, but with what they've been telegraphing about their plans for the education department, I know that you and your union colleagues and your colleagues at work more broadly have to have been expecting the worst. Do you believe that your union or that the employees more broadly have recourse to fight these firings and have recourse to fight their efforts to abolish the department?
Well, absolutely, because their efforts are illegal. Again, since the new administration came into office, we have experienced mass terminations and unchecked unprofessionalism, and people just not going by the rules. Even this layoff is not something that should have occurred. The layoff was not because of a budget shortfall. The president can't just lay people off because he does not agree with them or he does not like the color of their skin or their gender.
Well, he's not going to say that. He's not going to write that down on paper. You know, he's going to, because, you know, you guys keep trying to talk to the kids about butt stuff. But you know, maybe it's because we don't need so many angry black women behind the curtain. Maybe that's what it is. We just don't need angry black women behind the scenes running the show, or even worse, not doing much of anything.
No more money for you. It's lazy. You lazy. You lazy. No more money for you.
Certainly, we are availing ourselves for, of all recourse to challenge this, and talking with attorneys, and we have been since the first round of layoffs on January 21st. And so, we'll be fighting, and we hope the American people will fight with us.
Linda McMahon, in explaining what she's doing here, has also said that the American people should expect that there will be no interruption to any of the programs that the Education Department administers. I have to ask you if that is possible with what they're planning tonight, with half the workforce gone overnight.
Absolutely not possible. Since January 21st, our entire agency has been interrupted. We've been told not to work. We've had people who have been forced from working, even though they've been high performers. There's no way, we were already understaffed. There is no way we can continue operations at the levels that we had been when you have half the workforce and you have fired great people. You have fired high performers. There's no way. If you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
Sharia Smith is the president of the AFGE union that represents.
So, earlier, actually last couple of shows now, we've been talking about this little spike in left-wing violence. Let me share something else with you guys in case you haven't heard. A reporter that works for Alex Jones, what's his platform called? InfoWars. One of his InfoWars reporters was actually murdered recently. From what the news report says, it looks like it was people who were trying to steal his car. He confronted a couple of people trying to steal his car and they shot him. That's really all the details I have at this point. But I think there's more to it.
All right. General Flynn had tried to call me this morning while I was working out, and I missed his call, but he called my producer and said the same thing, former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. He said from his high-level intel sources, there is a contract out on me, and of course it's tied to the Ukrainians. But this is just emblematic of how desperate they are. That's NATO through the Ukrainians. Don't forget that it was a NATO operative from America, CIA, recruiting for the Ukrainian war, with the 6 cell phones that Trump talked about last week and all the passports that tried to kill Trump at Mar-a-Lago. So that's their base of operations. So it's MI6 running NATO, doing this, and anything happens to me, Keir Starmer, Barack Obama, they're running their operations out of there, NATO. And we know it's not just the Ukrainians. It's looking worse and worse that they might have hired a group or something. That's what they do, to send a message to everybody with Jamie. And this is pure intimidation. This is terrorism. And it's all they got left. So this is a fight for America in the future. And like I said, I knew this weeks ago, but was asked not to say anything about it. When I mentioned a little on the air, I got contacted saying, "Hey, man, did you say that because you heard that from us?" I said, "No, I got it from other sources about people coming to town in the last 3 weeks trying to kill Elon." And that's why I was on Rogan talking about, I might get killed, because the teams were here for sure for him. I mean, they stopped him twice that we know of. And they got other crazies they've wound up. And if I told you what happened last night at InfoWars, not just the swatting in the middle of the night of Chase Geiser and his family, but the stuff coming in, I'm probably going to go ahead and cover it at 11 a.m. today. But the left is disgusting.
Yeah, not only did one of his guys get killed recently, but another one of his InfoWars reporters was swatted at his home, not once, but twice now. Back to back.
And they're a bunch of pedophile devil worshippers. And we're winning. They're panicking. They don't know what to do. They think intimidating is going to work. Well, how's it worked out for you so far? I'm not scared at all. I am scared of not completing my mission. I've got family to take care of if I get killed. But at the end of the day, we're all destroyed anyways. We don't stop them. So we all get saved or none of us do. So I'm not suicidal, love life. And so they kill me and sense of suicide. It's a total lie. But this means we're really winning because they don't want to turn me into a martyr. They try to demonize me, lie about me, have other rig court cases, plant child porn on us, whole stuff they did. And now they're losing on every front, and they just don't care. And so they want me dead. And they want you dead with the poison shots and the GMO. Kennedy's moving to take all the poison out of the food right now. Doing a great job. I mean, Trump's for real, folks. Musk is for real. I'm for real. You're for real. 11 a.m. Central. I'll give you big updates on this and more. The globalists are making their move. They don't want you tuning into my show because I know what their next move is. It's incredibly obvious, and that's why I keep predicting what they're going to do next. But they are really pissed at me about that. And they're pissed that Trump's really listening now. Their worst nightmares come true. Remember those old headlines 8 years ago? The new chief of staff's main job is keeping Trump away from Alex Jones and InfoWars. Well, it didn't work. This is the info war. And so you won't stop us one way or another. You're going down, globalist. You're going down, New World Order. So keep running your games, your intimidation. See how it worked out for you. We got God on our side, you Satan worshipers, you fucking pedophiles. Fuck you.
Has anyone heard? CEO posters are being plastered everywhere with wanted signs. Yeah. Evidently, it looks like it's going to be open season on CEOs. God bless America. Has anyone heard? CEO posters are being plastered everywhere with wanted signs. Yeah. Evidently, it looks like it's going to be open season on CEOs. God bless America.
It's looking like I might have to take one for the team, y'all. It's looking like I might have to take one for the team, y'all. Everybody's been asking who's going to do it. Honestly, truly, I ain't got nothing else to lose. So what's up? Yeah, no. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I promise. I'm still here. See, the problem with that person didn't have the right plan. Okay? That's all I'm saying. It's looking like I might have to take one for the team, y'all. Everybody's been asking who's going to do it. Honestly, truly, I ain't got nothing else to lose. So what's up? Yeah, no. It wasn't me. I promise. I'm still here. See, the problem with that person didn't have the right plan. Okay? That's all I'm saying. It's looking like I might have to take one for the team, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what? I think we have come to the end of this portion of the show. I was thinking about doing a double header today. Had some ideas about what I wanted to do. And what I've settled on is we're going to go to Rumble and we're going to have maybe a panel, but we're going to have a bout of random acts of blackness as a Rumble exclusive. I just have a bunch of clips of the blacks doing, shit the blacks do, and it's a potpourri. Very random. It's all over the place. It's there's a lot going on. So I'm trying to put this together right now as I'm talking to you guys, but it looks like I think I got enough stored up for a show. I do think we have enough clips to make a full Random Acts of Blackness show. And so what you guys need to do, you guys are going to need to move over to Rumble. We are getting it ready right now. I think I'm going to take like a bathroom break, go pour me a stiff drink. Nice, refreshing alcoholic beverage. Gonna twist up another one. And we're going to get us some Random Acts of Blackness going. Yeah, it sounds about right. Just going through the bookmarks here, just digging through the crates, just making sure I didn't leave any of you niggas out. Because I know I got some niggatry deep in these crates. Well, I tell you, the blackness, it's so damn black. We about to get really negrified. You know what? Actually, before we even jump over to Random Acts of Blackness, let me do one last thing for YouTube. Let me do one last bit for YouTube. Because I actually do want to talk about this. I want to respond to this, and then we'll be out of here. Cut the music for a second. I found, bro, whoever's making these beats, the illest new production. Oh my God. And they just keep dropping stuff every day. It's crazy. I like the sound of it. Anyway. The other day, Tucker Carlson had a conversation with was one of the Cuomos. And we played that over on Rumble. And he basically said he wants zero immigration. Shit's fucked up. We got to stop.
Stephen A. Smith, host of the Stephen A. Smith Show, joins me right now. It's good to see you as always. What's your take?
Good to see you. Good to see you. Not gonna lie, Chris, it was a hard listen to. I'm certainly not trying to cast any aspersions on Tucker Carlson, but just listening to him, some of the questions that he was asking you, I'm certainly not going to say that he's detached from reality. But he clearly lives in his own reality that I'd be hard pressed to believe is inundated with an abundance of Black perspectives. And that's where I took issue with what he is saying. He almost wanted to say that race doesn't exist. He came across as someone that lamented some of the things that had gone on in society, which we all do, without appreciating why that is. Clearly, he is somebody that had a problem with diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, policies, etc. One could easily surmise that he had a problem probably with affirmative action if you asked him, with civil rights legislation. I'm assuming, in fairness to Tucker Carlson, he didn't say those things, but I'm assuming he would have an issue with it because he's saying, hey, let's be all about a meritocracy. What do you think Black folks want? What do you think Hispanics folks want? Asian, etc. What do you think they want? In this nation, unfortunately, history has shown us that the white power structure that exists, that has existed, has engaged far more often than not in an inequitable system. One they cultivated, they fostered, and they pushed forward. And luckily for us, as African Americans in this country, there were an abundance of white folks in this country who were conscientious enough, who had a soul, who said there's something wrong with this picture. And in my opinion, I think I'm talking to one of them right now, one of those people, which is why I love you, which is why you're my brother. I think that I interviewed one of those people a couple of weeks ago when I had the pleasure of interviewing your brother, Andrew Cuomo, because it's not just about what someone can look at and say, this is the way it should be. How about why is it not that way? How about recognizing the fact that because of the iniquitous actions that took place in our society by a white power structure, it forced conscientious-minded people to help push forth policies that would touch us towards equality.
Some people say that Stephen A. Smith wants to run for office at some point, and he's definitely hitting all the Democrat notes in terms of messaging and issue selection. But other than calling people racist, I don't really hear you responding to anything Tucker actually said that day.
Why didn't he talk about that? Why didn't he address that with you? Why didn't he talk about the history of America, of white America, and some of the heinous things that have transpired that led to those things? And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. We can look at stuff right now. We could say, you know what? DEI is wrong. Here's the reason why. It's not necessary. Here's the reason why, along with a plethora of other things. And guess what? In some cases, you might be right. But to do so without addressing why so many felt the need for its existence in the first place is something that I think is unfair to a vast majority of minorities in this country. And that was my problem with listening to Tucker Carlson.
I get it. I don't think that Tucker, I mean, obviously he can speak for himself. I don't think that he has an issue with legislation and the changing of standards, let's say from separate but equal to integration. I don't think that that's what it is. I think it's more of a precept of what's necessary. And that whether it's his world or though he's been exposed to a lot of stuff, he doesn't see the same need for corrective action that you do or that I do. But I'll tell you.
But he wouldn't.
Right. I totally get it because you only know your own experience.
Right.
And I have a unique blessing in my life, right? Which you got a different appreciation for in talking to Andrew, who says you dropped the hammer on him. And, you know, you have a problem there now that you'll have to address with him going forward. That's not something I discuss on the show. But he and I were raised to believe as a function of faith, but as basic humanity from my mother and father, that literally you and I are only different because we're treated differently. That we are absolutely the same. And now race is a social construct. You do not cut open Stephen A. Smith and see a black gene. And you'll see regional things, you'll see African heritage. Just like when I did mine, you saw Egyptian and all this other crazy stuff in there. We're all milkshakes.
Right.
But
Yeah, the race is a social construct, people. They're going to lose. And you don't even have to be a raging, seething white nationalist to make the argument. But this whole social construct stuff is going to die.
I think that it is important that when someone insists, no, race is a real thing. There's a real separation between the two of us. I think that that gives you a context to start seeing differences as relevant and that intelligence is the next thing that comes. And one of us genetically is more predisposed to intelligence. And as soon as you make that step, all of the separations are now just logical things. Well,
and see, that's where it gets scary. That's where it gets scary. You know, I've been thinking about this for a while, like a limiting principle. You know, years ago, SKC and I, we started this this conversation, I guess you can call it, about the right going too far. And this had to be like maybe 2 or 3 years ago while Trump was still out of office. And then we both noticed the ascendancy of a right-wing culture building. And we had this conversation about what's too far. And I kind of responded to SKC. At the time, my answer was we've gone so far to the left that even a conversation about going too far is kind of inappropriate, right? There is no too far. From where you are standing, there is no too far. If you are right in the geographic center of hell, there is no too far when it comes to getting out. However far you have to go, that's how far you go. That being said, though, I do, because I think a lot. I do question this concept of a limiting principle, right? Like, what should be the limiting principle to this fascism, as people might call it? And I'll accept that. But what should be the limiting principle to this fascism? And the only real workable solution I could come up with is something like the Christian moral structure. That's the only thing that could probably stop what Chris Cuomo's afraid about right here. Historically, I think that's been more true than not.
Oh, look, Stephen A. Smith, he may be stronger, he may be faster, but when it comes to intelligence, there's a difference. These are the things that you and I have heard our whole lives that we fought against. But if you believe genetically there's a difference between the races, it starts to be easier to accept that. I started from a position of knowing it's not a matter of science. It's a measure of society and social construct.
And I agree with everything that you just said. It is a matter of social construct, at least in my eyes, and the vast majority of Black people.
And see, this argument has built into it a racial accusation, because it now goes to say that, well, if any group of people could create America, let's just use America as a metaphor for the moment. If any group of people could create America, well, then why haven't they done it? Either A, they can't internally, or they can't because other people won't let them. And you kind of have to choose, either other people, like, is it really the white man's fault that there are still Stone Age people living in little random islands around the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific? Is it really the fault of white men that the cargo cult exists to this day? Is it really the fault of the white man that the only remaining Stone Age populations in this world are Black as Africans? I'm not saying the Africans, but I'm saying they are Black as the Africans. The Andaman Island people, you ever seen them niggas? They are Black as fuck. They are undeniably Black. That shit's gotta sting.
That I know in this country, because we lean more on our experiences rather than books or people who try to intellectualize stuff and approach it from a cerebral perspective to explain, what has transpired and what have you. And that was the danger of what I was listening to as I was listening to Tucker Carlson. I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on him.
No,
I'm only going based off the conversation. I don't recall ever meeting him. I don't engage in castigating him in any way. That's not where I'm going. I'm just talking about in terms of what I saw in terms of the conversation that he had with you. He was dismissive of the racial construct notion that you brought to his attention, not realizing how palpable and how insulting, dare I say, that would come across to so many African Americans in this country. The fact of the matter is that covering the world of sports, think about it from this perspective. They were telling folks, they were telling the Black man he couldn't play the quarterback position. You were telling the Black man he couldn't be a head coach. You were telling the Black man that he couldn't be a leader of men. Let's not get started with what you were telling the.
Now, the crazy thing is, Tucker was mostly talking about immigration in the clip they're responding to.
Black women. And over the course of time, we've seen how exceptional people from all races are and can be, and we see how deficient others can be. Then you also have to take into account the kind of society that we lived in. Remember, I got left back in the 4th grade because I had a 1st grade reading level, okay? And I had undiagnosed dyslexia that I ultimately had to overcome. What was one of the challenges of overcoming it? I was in the streets all the time because my mother had to work 2 jobs, because my father wasn't handling his business appropriately. And as a result, there was a weight.
Do you think the guys in the cargo cult just have undiagnosed dyslexia?
On the shoulders of my entire family. And so as a result, sometimes you found yourself running the streets. Sometimes you found yourself being preoccupied with things you shouldn't be preoccupied with. And as a result, that was taking up your time instead of you hitting the books and doing what you have to do. He didn't mention any of those kind of things. He didn't mention any of the potential obstacles that could lie in wait. He simply wanted to lean on race, talking to the potential intelligence or lack thereof of a race of people and what have you. And I just said to myself, wow, he really, really seems a bit detached from reality. I'm not going to be overtly or extremely rather insulted by what he said. I do appreciate the fact that he was honest and forthcoming with where he was coming from and that he was talking to somebody like you on your level who is as conscientious as you are and willing to tackle those subjects. And I truly, truly appreciate what you did from the bottom of my heart. It's just unfortunate that he didn't see that as he was talking to you, the kind of things that I just articulated, he didn't take into consideration.
You know, I said this on a previous stream, and I'm going to reiterate this. In a couple of years, in a good 5 to 10 years, racial conversations will be mainstream. There will be no avoiding it. The issue will become too pertinent, too unavoidable. And so the dissection of ideas like race realism, is race just a social construct? All these things are going to have public debates, and it's going to get kind of personal. It's going to get kind of awkward.
At all. He's in his bubble. This is how he sees it. He's not, it's not an emotional thing. It's rife with pragmatism. And to be that way is disassociating and dismissing yourself from understanding the potential realities of people who look different than you, who come from different social and economic backgrounds, who face challenges that you would never face in your life or may have never faced in your life, because I don't know Tucker Carlson, I don't know what type of challenges he's faced. It's just that I listened to that and I found myself being very disheartened at listening to the words coming out of his mouth. It was unfortunate. I'm not judging him in totality and painting him with a broad brush. I just talk about this conversation. I was not comfortable listening to him say the things that he says. I don't think he understands who he's echoing when he was saying some of the things that he was saying in the eyes of somebody who is not white. I don't think he realized that.
I mean, you know, the interesting thing about conversation is we start in the same place. Everybody's equal. And we ended in the same place, which is you should just get judged on who you are. Yeah. It's this place, that space in between, that is why you have to keep the conversation going. Stephen, thank you for your perspective. I appreciate it. Added to the context.
No problem.
Always a gift to the audience. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Stephen A. Smith, for giving us that introduction to uncomfortableness as we now make the transition over into random acts of blackness. Yeah. So in case you guys are new, if you're unfamiliar what we do on this little segment, I have a lot of clips that I collect over just over time, and just different snapshots and snippets of Black life, blackness, as it were. And I think we're going to have a little panel. I think what I'm going to do is drop the link in the chat after a few minutes, and we'll get the random blackness panel going, and we can all take a look at blackness together. Would you like that, boys and girls? Would you like to take a look at blackness together? It's a double header, you guys. It is a double header. We're putting in extra hours on the show today. Rumble exclusive. Dave, you really want to talk about the market crashing? Markets go up, markets go down, bro. The market's going to be fine in 2 more weeks, bro. Stop. Give it a couple of weeks, bro. You'll be all right. Your money's going to bounce back. Buy the dip, Dave. That's my comment about the markets, bro. Buy the dip. Anyway, the link is in the chat. We are moving this show over to another channel. We are going Rumble exclusive now. Like I said, we are moving into random acts of blackness. The randomest. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for watching on the YouTube side. We are shutting things down, building something new over on Rumble. If you would be so kind as to migrate over to the next platform, I thank you greatly. Good night, YouTubers.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.